I never thought the moment that would destroy my life would look so calm. When people imagine being caught cheating, they picture screaming, crying, doors slamming, maybe even someone throwing things. That's what I expected too. What I didn't expect was my husband smiling and thanking the man I had been sleeping with. But I'm getting ahead of myself. My name doesn't really matter. The only thing that matters is that for 10 years I was married to a man named Daniel. Daniel was the definition of stable. He worked as an engineer, paid every bill on time, fixed everything around the house himself, and had the kind of quiet reliability that most people would consider the perfect husband. For years, I did too. But somewhere around year 8 of our marriage, something shifted inside me. Our lives had become predictable in a way that felt suffocating. Every week was the same. Work, dinner, TV, sleep. Weekends meant grocery shopping and errands. Daniel was still kind, still loving in his quiet way, but there was no excitement anymore. At least that's what I told myself. Then I met Ryan. Ryan worked in marketing at the company where I worked. We didn't interact much at first, but he had the kind of personality that naturally pulled people in. He was confident, funny, the kind of guy who seemed completely comfortable anywhere. The first real conversation we had was during a company happy hour. He sat down next to me and said, "You look like someone who hates these events as much as I do." I laughed, and that was the beginning. At first, it was harmless. We started talking at work more often, then messaging occasionally. Soon those messages became daily conversations. Ryan made me feel interesting again. Desired. He complimented me constantly. "You're wasted in that quiet life you're living. You deserve someone who actually sees you." Every time he said things like that, a small voice in my head told me it was dangerous. But I ignored it. Because the attention felt good. Really good. The first time we crossed the line happened after another work event. We stayed behind after everyone else left, sitting in the empty bar talking. He leaned closer. I should have stopped him. Instead, I kissed him first. That was the moment everything changed. For the next 6 months, I lived 2 completely separate lives. At home, I was Daniel's wife. At work, I was Ryan's secret. We met during lunch breaks, sometimes after work, occasionally in hotel rooms when we could both make excuses. Ryan always talked about our future like it was inevitable. "You're not happy with him," he'd say. "You know that. You deserve someone who actually makes you feel alive." I started believing it. Looking back now, I can see how easily I let myself fall into that fantasy. Because believing it meant I didn't have to feel like the villain. Daniel never suspected anything. Or at least that's what I thought. He trusted me completely. That trust made it easier to lie. Late nights at work, fake work trips, girls' nights. The lies piled up, but I told myself it was temporary. Eventually, I would leave Daniel and start a new life with Ryan. At least that's what Ryan kept saying would happen. Then one evening, Daniel came home earlier than usual. I was sitting on the couch texting Ryan. Daniel walked into the living room and sat down across from me. "Can we talk for a minute?" he asked. Something about his tone made my stomach twist. "Sure," I said. He studied my face for a moment. Then he said something that made my blood run cold. "I met Ryan today." My heart stopped. "You... what?" "I met him." I tried to keep my voice steady. "How?" Daniel leaned back in his chair. "I asked him to meet me for coffee." The room suddenly felt smaller. "Why would you do that?" He looked at me calmly. "Because he's been sleeping with my wife." The words hit me like a punch to the chest. You knew?" "For a while." "How long?" "About 4 months." My entire body went cold. 4 months. That meant he had known almost the entire time. "Why didn't you say anything?" I whispered. Daniel shrugged slightly. "I wanted to see how far you'd go." The shame was overwhelming. "I'm sorry." I said, but he didn't respond. Instead, he stood up. I actually invited Ryan over tonight. I stared at him. What? He should be here soon. My mind started racing. Daniel, this is a bad idea. He just smiled faintly. I disagree. About 10 minutes later, the doorbell rang. My heart was pounding so hard I could barely breathe. Daniel walked calmly to the door and opened it. Ryan stood there. The moment he saw me behind Daniel, his face went pale. Hey, Daniel said casually. Come on in. Ryan stepped inside slowly, clearly confused. Daniel said he wanted to talk, he said. Daniel gestured toward the living room. We all sat down. The tension in the room was unbearable. Ryan looked like he wanted to disappear. I felt like I might throw up. Daniel sat across from both of us, completely composed. Then he looked at Ryan and said something I will never forget. Before we talk about anything else, I want to thank you. Ryan blinked. What? Thank you. The silence that followed was suffocating. Ryan looked at me, confused. For what? He asked. Daniel smiled slightly. For taking her. My chest tightened. What are you talking about? I said. Daniel turned toward me. You spent 6 months lying to me, sneaking around, treating our marriage like it meant nothing. He gestured toward Ryan. And honestly, if someone like him is what you'd rather have, then he did me a favor. Ryan looked incredibly uncomfortable. Look, man, I didn't mean to. Daniel raised his hand. I'm not mad at you. Then he looked directly at Ryan. You showed me exactly who my wife really is. Those words cut deeper than any yelling could have. Ryan didn't know what to say. Neither did I. Daniel stood up. I've already filed the divorce paperwork. My heart dropped. Daniel. But he shook his head. You made your choice months ago. Then he looked back at Ryan. So seriously, thank you. The calmness in his voice made it so much worse, because there was no anger, just finality. Ryan stood up awkwardly. I think I should go. Daniel nodded. Probably a good idea. Ryan left without even looking at me. When the door closed behind him, the house felt empty. Daniel walked toward the hallway. Daniel, please, I said. He stopped but didn't turn around. I made a mistake. He sighed quietly. No. Then he looked back at me for the last time. You made a decision. And that was the moment I realized something devastating. Ryan had only been an escape, but Daniel had been my life. And I had just thrown it away.